Blazers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Duriana, aka Duria Blaze, and if you're new here, welcome. Subscribe to my channel, turn on your post notifications so you can be notified whenever I post a video. So guys, today here on my channel, I decided I wanted to bring like a little series to my channel, something new. So I decided today that I'm gonna start this series and I'm gonna call it like Murder Mystery Mondays or something like that. Like, you'll see from the title what I'm going to be calling the video. You can read it down in the description box, and I'm probably going to be doing these videos like every Monday, and if not every Monday, I'll probably still try to do them like once a week or so. So today, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about a little murder mystery, or it's not even really a mystery because the case was solved. But we're going to be talking about these like murder cases, mysterious cases, all different sorts of kinds of things. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to pertain to murder, but this one in particular, this case in particular does, and we're going to talk about it in this video. Also, if you haven't already, because I bet you read the title, you probably when you clicked on the video, but you already know what time it is. You already know what time it is, okay?
Okay.
So that's what we're going to be doing in today's video. Let's get right on into it. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Wichita Massacre. So if you're not familiar with this, Wichita is actually located in Kansas. It's a city or a town in Kansas. This is where this story takes place. It starts off with, let me actually light my shit up. Okay, so yeah, this story takes place in Wichita, Kansas. And again, the title of this is going to be the Wichita Massacre, okay? Y'all know what massacre means, right? It means when there's a group of people that have been slain, murdered, gone, okay? That may not be like the exact definition word for word, but that's basically what it is. So I'm dropping everything today, and it's not cool. Like, not with it. I'm literally dropping everything today. That's some good shit right there. Good shit right there. Okay, so this case takes place in Wichita, Kansas. And they called it the Wichita Massacre. So after you finish watching this video, guys, go look it up. You know, get more details. You know, if there's anything that I'm missing, comment down below. But you know, lately I've been getting into doing these kinds of things. Like, I've been watching lots of documentaries about, you know, crimes and, you know, mystery cases, unsolved cases, and all that stuff. So I'm definitely going to be bringing that to my channel, guys. So if you're interested in that, give this video a like and comment down below some ideas that you guys want me to talk about, some like crimes you want me to touch up on, and, you know, all that other stuff. I'm down to do that because, like, I'm really interested in those kinds of things. So if you are too, you know what to do. So this starts off with two brothers, okay? Reginald Carr and Jonathan Carr. They're brothers. Reginald is older than Jonathan by 2 years, okay? Keep that in mind. So it takes place in Wichita, Kansas. It starts off with two brothers. One name is Reginald Carr. The other one is Jonathan Carr, okay? Now, Reginald and Jonathan Carr, they were from Dodge City, Kansas. So they're from Kansas, born and bred, or bred and born.
What is it?
Either way, though, they were born and raised in Dodge City, Kansas. And these two brothers, they had a really tight-knit bond. Like, they were really close with each other. Something like you would see with a lot of siblings. You know, some siblings, they're not that close. But, you know, for most part, you know, the siblings, you know, they're pretty tight. Now this unique bond that these two brothers shared, that these two brothers had, you know, nobody knew that the bond that they shared will lead them to, you know, go into cahoots together, and nobody knew that the bond that they shared will lead these two brothers into working together to cause a massacre. That's how we're gonna sum it up. You know, like most troubled adults who do things like this, of course it always would stem from they had a rough childhood. You know, from what I gathered, the information that I gathered, these two, they had a rough childhood. A lot of kids do. That's why sometimes I don't be understanding like how you having a rough childhood causes you to like cause a massacre. I don't get it. And like, I don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like it couldn't have caused any like type of mental, psychological problems with the two brothers, but my opinion, it's
Don't get that deep.
don't get that deep. what I'm saying? If anything, that should, once you got older and became an adult, that shit should make you realize that this ain't cutting it for me. This, you know, this ain't the life I want to live. I want to be better. I want to do better. You know, some people would think that. I don't know. Now, the reason why they ended up having such a rough childhood was because they had around the time when everything went to shit, they were kids. I'm not sure the exact age, but they weren't even teenagers yet. They weren't preteens or anything. They were kids. And around this time, they had a 2-year-old sister, and she ended up passing away. She ended up dying. I didn't read anything or see anything about how or why the sister passed away, but they had a 2-year-old sister, and she died. My condolences. That is sad. And that right there led the family to spiral into a state of chaos and dysfunction. That's what led to them having such a rough childhood. It just, I guess it caused such a negative state of emotions within the family that ended up taking its toll on the kids. So now also, like, once all of this dysfunction in the household started, there was even allegations that relatives, like their family members, had, you know, reported that these two brothers were actually victims of a violating assault that I'm not going to go into too much detail, you know, here on YouTube. So like I said, they were violating assaults. You guys get the picture. You know what that is. And trust me, this story just gets worse as we go along. So if you're into this kind of thing, keep on watching. If not, you might want to tune out. So after Reginald, he turned about, I want to say, yeah, so when Reginald turned about 18, when he was 18 years old, he had already been in, you know, his fair share of physical altercations in school. So we all have. I mean, probably not all have, but I mean, I sure have had my fair share of altercations in school. Again, y'all know that. We're going to get more into that. But yeah, so he's had his fair share of physical altercations in school, in high school, you know, or just the school general. But by the time he turned 18, there were tons of them. He had a lot of fights. He fought a lot. I mean, when you're an angry child, that's what you do. That's how you react. Like, violence is key. Like, if you experience violence at home, you take that with you. So, like, again, I still don't agree and understand the whole, you know, massacre thing. I don't. Or killing someone in general because, you know, you're a little troubled. But when you're raised around a violent upbringing, it kind of reflects in you. It was about to happen, but I don't even know where I was going with this. So yeah, so Reginald, the older brother, around 18, he had already had his fair share of fights, you know what I'm saying, in school. And his brother, Jonathan, who was 16 at the time, so they were 2 years apart. They were, Reginald was older than Jonathan by 2 years. So Jonathan at this point had even, at 16, by the way, even attempted to, you know, take his own life in high school. Like, he tried to commit suicide in high school because how troubled and how traumatized and stuff that he was from, you know, his upbringing, things that are happening in his life around him. It gotten so bad to the point where he felt like, you know, he needed to take his own life, which again he attempted to do. Now, by the time these two brothers reached their adulthood years, they were no strangers to law enforcement. Like, they were no strangers. These two brothers had a very long criminal history, okay, by the time they were young adults. That tells you right there the road that they're headed down. You know, people who constantly get in trouble with the law, they're gonna pretty much probably constantly keep getting in trouble with the law. That's how it works, you know what I'm saying? Like me. I ain't got time for that. But their criminal record was pretty lengthy. It was pretty long. Quite a history of getting into shit, getting into trouble. This criminal record that these two brothers had going on, they intended to make this shit quite fucking longer sooner rather than fucking later. Let me tell you that. This shit should have been nipped in the bud early on. You seen the boys was trouble, and you know all of this shit. You should have kept their ass locked up. Maybe that would have, you know, helped them out a little bit. So the two brothers, they decided to travel to Wichita, Kansas to do something. So these two brothers can do something that they've never done before. Now, mind you, again, they've had such a criminal lengthy record, but this time they decided, hey bro,
You wanna head to Wichita, Kansas? Yeah, try and get into some more fuck shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying? Trying to fuck some shit up.
Like, I don't know, like, I really wonder the type of conversation that they had to lead into this next scenario. I don't know, like, do they really just sit there and, you know, chat like how we're doing, like, and just sit down and like talk with each other and just like, yeah, bro, you trying to, you know, head over here to the next part of town and, you know, shoot up some shit? I'm bored. Like, is that what they is that how they think? Like, I've been watching stuff and I'm about to be watching a little bit more shit because I'm trying to really get a little bit more into it because I really want to know how a fucking killer thinks. Are you really like fucking sane? Like, but I don't think you can be sane to do shit like this. I don't. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. One night, like soon after they arrived in Wichita, Kansas, there was a man named Andrew Schreiber, and Andrew Schreiber ended up being at the wrong place, the worst possible time you could think of. And it's crazy because you could just be doing your own thing, minding your own business like you normally do. Shit, this could have been a routine for Andrew, you know what I'm saying? And some fuck shit just happened to you. Like, guys, be careful out here. It's a crazy world we live in today. So, at around this time, guys, it was winter time. So remember, they're in Kansas, it's winter time, and the temperatures were like below freezing here, okay? So a lot of people in Kansas chose, like, they were going to be staying in the house in the comforts of their own home, you know, being warm and cozy, probably sipping on a hot chocolate or whatever the case may be, you know what I'm saying? But not so many people got the memo. I'm just say that because you know me, I hibernate. When it get cold, I hibernate. I don't like going outside in the cold because I don't do cold. I be hibernating. Some people, you know, they don't get the memo. They don't. And that's okay because, again, Andrew Schreiber, he was out at this time. He had decided to go to a convenience store to, you know, do what he do, get some snacks or whatever the case may be. I don't know. But he was at the convenience store and doing a little shopping. And on his way out, he got intercepted at gunpoint. On his way out, walking to his car, he got intercepted at gunpoint. And then he was forced to ride around with his captives to different ATMs to withdraw money before his captives took him to like a remote desert area, shot one of his tires out, and left him there.
Oh my God! Wow!
It's just like in that situation, in that moment, that is that's a scary situation because you don't know what could have happened. That situation could have turned out so many different ways, right? And it's like you just gotta thank God, you gotta be thankful because again, it could have just turned out so much worse. They shot out his tire and they left him there. So I know y'all thinking like it's something, but it ain't much. I know y'all probably like, this is just the first stop on a, you know, crime spree and shit like that, on the brother's crime spree. But keep in mind, Reginald, the older brother, he was the only one that ended up being convicted of this crime in particular. The person who was with Reginald when this crime took place, because it was not Jonathan, that's why obviously he was not convicted, but the person who was with Reginald during this time, he is still unidentified, so to this day. So they don't know who he is. He got away. Lucky him. 3 days after that incident had taken place, the brothers were driving around a little neighborhood, you know, the little suburban areas. They were driving around the neighborhood when they had stumbled across the lady who was, you know, just sitting in her car, you know, minding her damn business. And by the way, she was parked in her driveway, like, minding her business. So some people say that the Carr brothers were like already intentionally following this woman in particular. So that's what they say. To the Carr brothers, she was a perfect match for their crime. Like, she was, you know, perfect because her name was Linda Ann Walenta. She was a 55-year-old woman. You know, she wasn't gonna be no match for them. She, you know, she couldn't, you know, fight off both of the brothers, you know. And Linda, she was also a librarian. So, you know, Linda, she was a librarian. She was a 55-year-old woman. Again, minding her damn business, you know. She was probably on her way to go somewhere. She probably just came from somewhere. I don't know. But she was in her car, parked in her driveway, minding her business. Linda was startled when one of the Carr brothers walked up to her car from what seemed like out of nowhere, indicating to Linda that he needed, some type of help, like he needed help. So Linda, being a nice woman, proceeded to roll down her window and see what, the man had wanted. He said he needed help. So, I guess she was being nice, and she rolled down her window to see what he had wanted. And as soon as she did that, it was like all of a sudden his facial expression had just instantly changed, like instantly. One probably of like menace, like it's about to go down.
It's about to go down.
So she was shocked when the young man, had pulled the gun out to Linda, eye level.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Pulled the gun out straight to her face, eye level. Okay? Linda, being in such complete shock, went to start up her already running car. Like her car was already, started up, so she was probably going somewhere. Or again, she may have just, pulled up from somewhere and, just put her car in park and shit. Because again, like people were allegedly saying that, the Carr brothers were intentionally following Linda. So, you know what I'm saying? It could have been some whole other shit, Hold on, I'm about to get the bong. Linda was so shocked at the sudden change of events that she went to start up her already running car, and the engine started to sputter and grind, because when you ever try to start up your car when it was already on, because sometimes you got them quiet cars so you can't really hear it, but you turn it on, you start it up, and it starts sputtering away. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, and she eventually ended up putting it in reverse to pull off. One of the brothers ended up letting off 3 shots into the car.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! I can't believe this!
One of the bullets hit Linda's spine. They let off 3 shots and one of the bullets hit her spine. In her state of like panic and pain, confusion, she ended up being able to pound on her horn. One of her neighbors across the street, she grabbed their attention by pounding on the horn, and they immediately was calling the police. They was on the phone calling the police. While this transpired, the Carr brothers ended up, ducking off. They was gone. They pulled off. So by the time the police got there, they were nowhere to be found. They were gone. They left. Linda, she was immediately rushed to the hospital, where she was able to give them a pretty basic description of how the 2 men looked in the car that they, just so happened to be riding around in. It wasn't much that she can give them. Everything was happening so fast. She was, like I said, she was in a state of pain, confusion. She just got hit with a bullet in her spine. So the description that Linda was able to give the investigators wasn't much, but it was enough for them to be able to assume that it may be the 2 men that just attacked Andrew Schreiber a few days prior. So that led them to assume they were dealing with the same men, that just got on Andrew. So unfortunately, the wounds that Linda sustained from the gunshot, from the bullet, she ended up succumbing to those wounds. So she ended up dying. Rest in peace. Because that is sad. You just don't know, shit like that will happen to you, and it just does. Again, she was just minding her own business. So yeah, she did succumb to those wounds, and she did pass shortly after in the hospital. These brothers were doing all of this sick shit, and it's not even sick just yet, but they were doing all of this weird ass shit, and it's gonna prove later on that they ended up receiving some sort of sick pleasure out of this. You're gonna see what I'm talking about. They received some sort of sick pleasure out of these fantasies, these twisted fantasies that they had. It's just weird, bro. It's just weird. Again, these fantasies that the Carr brothers had, they get twisted and they get a little gruesome as we go further along. So if you are not into that kind of thing, you might want to tune out. This is not for kids. You may want to tune out. So on December 14th, 2000, yes, 2000, this was only like 21 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just happened just so recently. Like, it's not even that far off. Like, when you think about it, it's just really not. On December 14th, 2000, a young woman whose identity is being kept secret for her own personal safety, but she will go by the name of Holly G. That's what they are referring to her as. Her name is Holly G. So Holly, she had gone to spend the night with her boyfriend, Jason Befford, who was a science teacher and a coach. Jason, he homed with a couple of roommates. One was Bradley Heckley, I think that's how you say it. He was a 27-year-old financial analyst. Had Aaron Sander, who was a priesthood student. He was 29 years old. And, you know, they were all roommates. They were friends, they were roommates, okay? You know, and they had the, you know, occasional, you know, we can bring our girlfriends over and, you know, chill and all of that shit, or whatever the case may be.
Okay.
So at the beginning of this god-awful night, so she arrived at her boyfriend's house with her pet schnauzer, Nikki, at around approximately 8:30 p.m. So when she got there, Jason was not there. So he was still at work. So one of Jason's roommates had let Holly in, you know, so Holly could wait there inside, of course, for him. So she came in and went straight to his room and was just like laying in his bed watching TV. And Holly herself was a teacher, so she was also grading papers while, you know, she was chilling, waiting for her boyfriend to get home. Aaron's former girlfriend, remember Aaron's one of the roommates, Aaron's former girlfriend, Heather Muller, she arrived shortly after Holly did. And she ended up going to Aaron's room, and, you know, as time passed, she ended up falling asleep in his bed, while Aaron, you know, ended up falling asleep downstairs on a couch. Meanwhile, Bradley, he was asleep. Again, Bradley is another roommate. Bradley, he was asleep downstairs in his room, and his room was like in the basement area. So he was asleep downstairs in his room in the basement. So then Jason, you know, he finally arrived home, and when he got home, he locked up, like, you know, he made sure he locked the unit down. He secured the house. It was locked down, and, you know, he proceeded to go to his room so he can, you know, get into bed with, you know, with his girl. Like, duh, that's what he was waiting for. After all of this time of working, he was on his way to see his woman. So, like, what happened next? Like, no one would have expected. Like, no one, not them, not us. No one would have expected the type of, like, horrors and chaos that transpired next. So shortly after 11 p.m., the porch lights to the house came on, and Holly and Jason, they were still up at around this time. They were still up. So when Jason got home and got in bed, Holly got up and they was up. The porch lights ended up coming on, and Holly and Jason were still up, and they were just sitting there in like intense silence, just, you know, trying to figure out what, you know, activated the lights, like what caused the porch lights to come on. They were automatic, of course, like, you know, when you got automatic lights out there, something or someone gotta be, like, you know, in a certain parameter of it to come on. Like, they gotta be something big to make it come on. Like,
ain't gonna be no bug.
so Jason and Holly eventually decided, they was like, okay, we gonna go investigate. We gonna go figure out what's going on.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
But they didn't even get the chance to, because when they was getting ready to, they heard what had sounded like muffled voices, right? And then eventually these muffled voices turned into like full-on shouting, like full-on yelling. Like, it got crazy real fast. It transpired real quick. So as Holly and Jason, you know, were laying in the bed, probably scared as fuck, just wondering, like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is going on? Much to their dismay. Sorry, guys. Part 2 being posted tomorrow.